Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty RoundTable Radio Talk Show.
Happy Thanksgiving to every one of you from us, the Liberty RoundTable and Loving Liberty Networks team. Hope you all have a delightful, incredible, elongated weekend full of God, family, country, and the protection of life, liberty, and property. Lance Migliaccio with me, the big gentleman. He's also he's an expert in Bitcoin, in digital currency, in crypto. He does a crypto show as well. Check it out, thebigmig.com. It's available on X and Rumble and just everywhere. Great content is found. And we've got our guest today with us now, Keonne Rodriguez. He's a American software developer from Florida, and he was a co-founder of what's called Samurai Wallet. And you say, what's the Samurai Wallet? Well, it's a Bitcoin transfer service, right? It's a wallet. It has enhanced privacy features. Oh boy, that's the snafu. Privacy. Imagine that in the land of the free, baby. Can't be having that. Shut them down. The bottom line is cartels like the Federal Reserve and your general government, they don't like competition. That's the problem. But hey, there's other companies out there that do this same thing, Keonne, and I want to kind of talk about those. Are they all licensed, or do they have special protection, or what's the difference? There's Ricochet, there's others out there that seem to do a lot of this kind of thing too. They've done this with communications. They've done this with just about everything. And that's why earlier in the segments I kind of pushed on is this money. Because if you can do it with communications or emails or this or that, what's the difference?
Yeah, absolutely. And there is no difference, because what we ended up doing with Samurai Wallet was essentially communication. We never took anyone's money. We just passed messages from one party to another. So we never thought that we needed to have a license. And not just us, our lawyers didn't think we needed to have a license. And no one in the industry thought that we needed to have a license. And in fact, the regulator who's in charge of issuing the licenses didn't think we needed to have a license either. But that did not stop the DOJ from bringing charges against us saying that we operated without a license.
And let me stop you there for a minute. I want to ask this question. Of course, I want to be delicate, because I'm sure you'll have an appeal placed before long. And of course, hopefully you'll be submitting for a pardon with Donald Trump additionally. Let's talk about the Department of Justice. You know, many times I've talked to people that have faced a prior case or were defendants in a current case on my shows and on our radio show and otherwise. The DOJ commits lots of crimes within these cases. That's why they have Brady material. That's why they talk about fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine, Giglio, Whitley, lots of stuff. These are cases with existing precedent that prove that the Department of Justice is not infallible. In your case, what can you talk about? Because I like the audience to get a grasp on this, because a lot of people say, oh, he's a felon. Oh, he committed a crime. Not recognizing that you could literally be in a national park and let's say you were having a difficulty with your car and you were cleaning your carburetor with some gasoline, as an example, and you accidentally tipped over that can of gasoline in the national park. Let's say it was just a small container. You're cleaning your carburetor, and I'm talking old school, of course. You're trying to fix your own car. I know a gentleman that got 36 months for doing that. He had a park ranger come up behind him. He kind of startled him. He kicked over the can by accident, and he received 36 months from the federal government as a sentence. So this can happen to you at any time. You could be filing your tax return and you stretch your claims of what you think your deductions are. So let's talk about specifically in your case, Keonne, were there specific events where the Department of Justice violated their own rules, violated their own obligations, violated their own statutes, or even the rules of engagement in a criminal case? Let's talk about those specifically if you can.
Yeah, sure. So I think one of the major things that we figured out during the discovery process, and the government didn't tell us about, which they have an obligation to do under Brady, is that before indicting us, they actually spoke with the regulator in charge of money transmission and money laundering, which is called FinCEN, the Financial Crime Enforcement Network. It's a part of the U.S. Treasury. And they went to FinCEN and said, hey, what do you think about these Samurai Wallet guys? Do you think they're violating money transmission laws? And FinCEN told the prosecutors, no, we don't think so. They don't take custody of anyone's money, therefore they can't be a money transmitter. That's what we've been saying since 2013.
Now, was that in writing? Was that orally? Was it through email? How did they receive that question's answer?
Writing. They have it in an email. So they
So
had
it was an
they had a
email.
phone conversation and then a follow-up email. Yes.
Okay. So here's my question to you. When you got your discovery, because clearly they had done an investigation with FinCEN, they had received information directly from FinCEN prior to your indictment. It wasn't ongoing during the case. It was prior to your indictment. I'm assuming that that information was provided in your discovery.
No, it wasn't.
Oh,
No,
not
we
provided
didn't.
in your discovery.
No, it wasn't. So that's a clear Brady violation.
Yeah.
We didn't discover it until over a year after indictment, when we specifically asked the government if they had any conversations with FinCEN about this case. And it was only after we asked that specific question did they produce the emails that they had with
Were
FinCEN.
you allowed to present that information to the judge?
No. We filed a motion, of course, to say, hey,
and the judge denied the motion.
Judge denied the motion without even any argument.
Okay. Now, Sam, you know how the system works. Here's Brady information, exculpatory information that would prove the innocence of Keonne. And the judge sees it come in. He sees the motion and says, oh, he's got some Brady material. Should the judge have denied that motion, Sam?
What the judge should have done is, first off, say we got to have a jury of his peers look at this, and then basically you need all the evidence on the table so jurors can say, hey, you know what, whether a crime was committed or not isn't even really the debate here, because we have to debate money first. So, for example, if it's really money laundering that Keonne's guilty of, then in my mind, you've got to go after a gazillion people. Okay.
Yeah, because it's a conspiracy, right? You have co-conspirators. It's
and
racketeering
because what's
and RICO.
money? I mean, what if I create a Lance coin? Is it money?
No doubt. No, it's
We don't
definitely
even
not
know who
money.
created Bitcoin, do we?
No, we do not. Satoshi
Okay, so if we don't know
Nakamoto
who
is the
created it,
claim.
how do we say it's money if we don't even know who created it?
Absolutely. And this is my point. Here he is with genuine Brady material, exculpatory material that proves his innocence that wasn't provided in his discovery. In fact, it was hidden by the Department of Justice, which, by the way, that's obstruction.
Intentionally hidden.
And that's obstruction of justice because they had the mens rea to hide it from him. They intended to hide the information. Had his attorney not asked, and they were probably worried that maybe the attorney had found out about it, they didn't want to directly lie, but now they provide it late in the case, and they don't provide it up front in the discovery, or even say later on, hey, by the way, we made a mistake. We meant to give you this. It's a mistake on our part. The truth of the matter, that would have exonerated
when are we going to impeach the judge?
Okay, so my question is, if the judge violates the law by not disclosing and not allowing the defense counsel to disclose Brady material, should he be impeached? Should he be dismissed? Should he be disbarred from the bench? And should the Department of Justice prosecutors, every single one of them that hid the information, Sam, should they all be prosecuted for Title 18, 241, 242, 1512, obstruction of justice? Should they be charged and indicted?
Yes, and they should add malice to the mix and say, not only was this intentional, but it was egregious. It was a setup. It was an absolute desire to throw this guy in jail and to shut down. Like I say, the cartels don't like competition. And so I think we need to not only prosecute these people, impeach them, but we need to also say, you've done this with malice. You've done this with evil hate, right?
No doubt. It was malicious intent because, again, they orchestrated and falsified an indictment because they knew that they'd been told by FinCEN that he didn't need the license. The license is that he allegedly was laundering money when he was
not. Well, and the debate if it's even money is a big issue in my opinion too.
No doubt.
There's been court cases like this. So for example, if I pay you, let's say that I pay you a silver dollar and it covers, say, 6 hours of work, just say. I've given you minimum wage, but I gave you $1. Is it $1? Or is it really minimum wage of $7? Is it fiat currency we're going to say? Or we're going to say, I gave you $1. Anyway, there's been court cases
Here's my
won
question for
about
Keonne.
this, right?
I have a question. Oh, there's no doubt. There's lots of cases. There's numerous cases that have discussed fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine. They've discussed Whitley, Bagley, you name it. They're all out there. The cases are very clear on their set. So here's my question for you, Keonne. Has your attorney filed to sanction the judge, sanction the prosecutors? Has he notified OPR of the violation? Has he notified Public Integrity Division of the violation? Has he notified the OIG of the violation? Has he notified the civil rights violation? Because at this point, your civil rights are being violated.
Go ahead and skip the break for the answer.
Has he taken the notification to the Judiciary Oversight Committee for the judge for refusing the motion to allow you to submit Brady material? Has your attorney filed all those documents?
I don't think so. I'm not sure though.
I would have to say that your attorney is doing you an incredible disservice at this time, because clearly we have a proven Brady violation, which should already mean that all these documents are being filed, and that the prosecutor's office, that the judiciary, the specific judge, any magistrates who are on a case, were all reported for trying to cover up this. Because what you're looking at is a grand conspiracy against you. They are attempting to cover up the exact reason that your charges should be dismissed. And this happens, let me say this to the audience, this isn't unique to Keonne. This system, anybody that tells me the Department of Justice gets it right every time, that's why they have a 98% conviction rate, I would use profanity if I wasn't on the radio right now. I would tell you that's an impossibility, because if you're telling me that the IRS gets it right every time, if the FBI gets it right every time, if Department of Homeland Security gets it right every time, if the Trump administration gets it right every time, I would tell you that you are a liar. And the DOJ is no different. Your attorney should be going into overdrive, but you know why he's not going to go into overdrive, Keonne? Because next week, he has to go and defend another person, and he has to make another one of these crooked plea deals. He has to negotiate with them. And if they remember that he just got them reporting them to the Bar Association, which again is not a very good system, and he just got done reporting them to all the oversight agencies, how do you think those prosecutors and this judge, the next time he's in front of him, how do you think they're going to treat him?
Yeah, that's exactly.
And it doesn't matter to
exactly
him
the
because
issue.
he's not going to jail. They're going to treat his defendant with the worst possible consequences, because what they want to do is soil the reputation of your defense attorney so that his business is ruined, because he just got done not being part of the good old boys network. He actually did his job and tried to defend you down to the line. So if you'd like some information when we get done, if you want to give me a call, I will tell you how you can do all this reporting yourself.
Yeah, I definitely will. Thank you, Lance.
Okay, so my question is, if the Justice Department commits crimes like high crimes and treason, misdemeanor, whatever, Congress can go after them and impeach. So my question is, have you talked to your congressman and or senator about this? And what do we need to do to gain a rallying cry to say, hey, wait a minute here. These people have created criminal activity. Even the states can investigate the DOJ, right?
Yeah, you can report them to the Attorney General's office as an example.
Have those things been done? Have you talked to Congress and talked to your state leadership? State Attorney General is a powerful check. And I mean, what about those avenues?
So I've tried to talk to our congressman here in Pennsylvania, one of which is Fetterman. The other one, I forgot who his name is. Haven't heard back from either of them. We've had some success with some members of Congress. Warren Davidson in Ohio, very responsive, very helpful. He had a great quote. He said that this prosecution is like holding Microsoft responsible because drug dealers might use Excel. And he got it right away.
Yeah,
we have
correct.
Cynthia Loomis in Wyoming, a Republican in Wyoming, who got it, wrote a letter to the then Attorney General Merrick Garland with a Democrat out of Oregon, Wyden, saying, hey, this prosecution is not the intent of Congress. This is way out of line. So we've had some success with some members of Congress, but not a lot.
But it's not enough.
It's not enough.
And I'll bet you that your defense counsel is telling you, be careful, don't make waves. We're going to file for a pardon from Donald Trump. But you know the problem with a pardon? You have to admit and acknowledge guilt. Correct. You have to say, I'm guilty, I'll take the pardon. And that's the problem with it. So even if you have appealable issues, even if you have proof of the Department of Justice or your own judge violating the laws in the United States, what do they hide behind, Sam? You know this.
Well, they hide behind the fact that they're above the law and they've got immunity to everything.
Absolute immunity. And I always say that only God, in my opinion, is the only one with absolute immunity. And he just gets it. It's not like he is appointed absolute immunity by anybody. Here we are with absolute immunity. And that's what they hide behind. They say that within their obligation to the legal system, the Department of Justice, they have to have immunity for everything they do, even though that's not really how the law states it. Absolute immunity and qualified immunity do have restrictions. And if they don't follow the rules, that's when they lose their immunity. The point of the matter, your prosecutors, when they hid that exculpatory evidence, they lost their immunity. They no longer have absolute immunity and qualified immunity. But the question is, who's going to go after them? Because here's the issue. OIG, Civil Rights Division, OPR, Public Integrity Division, they're all Department of Justice departments.
Yeah.
The majority of the time when you report, you get back crickets. But the reason that you have to report is you have to prove that you made an attempt for administrative remedy, that you didn't go to the courts immediately in your appeal. And if you don't take those steps for administrative remedy, what's going to happen when you go to the court? The judges are going to rule against you. Well, say, Keonne, you should have reported this. Why did you wait to come and appeal it? Right now, you didn't make any effort. If you don't make that effort prior and or before the appeal happens, they will claim, well, there were lots of ways you could have fixed this and you didn't make any effort, so we're dismissing this for harmless error. Meanwhile, you're serving time, your family's suffering. Sam, does that sound like
the way it
error?
works? Yeah, no, it's a tragic situation. And Keonne, you founded this company with a partner, and you've already been given your sentence, and he hasn't yet. Is that right?
He got his sentence on the 19th. He was given 4 years.
4 years. So you get 5 and he gets 4.
Yes.
And my question about all this is, what do we need to do? Have the American people push for hashtag fire Pam? I mean, what do we do about this? Pam's primarily responsible. The Justice Department is the Trump administration. At some point, the buck stops with Pam and Donald, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that I truly hoped for when President Trump was elected was that he was going to clean house at the SDNY in particular. That is a U.S. Attorney's Office that has gone against him and his administration's wishes from during his first term, and then prosecuted him after 2020. And it's very unfortunate and very disappointing that he hasn't cleaned house there because, quite frankly, it's a snake pit and it needs to be cleaned. Pam Bondi might be part of the problem.
Yeah.
All right. Your software is considered, and I want to focus on this a little bit because I think it really helps people understand something. It's a non-custodial Bitcoin wallet with enhanced privacy features. Okay. So what does a non-custodial mean? Help people understand that, because I think this really relates to the fact that you've done nothing, right?
Correct. It's a major, major component. Non-custodial means that my software or me never took anybody's money. We just created a piece of software that allowed you, the user, to keep control of your own money. So you didn't need to get permission from me to use the software, to send Bitcoin, to receive Bitcoin. I had no part of it. I couldn't have any part of it. So non-custodial just means you, the user, keep total custody and control. Unlike,
in other words, it's like
bank.
zero trust. The company doesn't know my password, for instance. It's like that, right?
Correct. Absolutely correct. Yes.
Lance, this is a critical part of this, because if anybody on a grand jury or anybody on a jury of his peers, if you could explain that simple concept to them, they would have to say not guilty, because non-custodial means he never had it. He never controlled it. He just basically created a system that allowed this for me to enter into this, whether it be communications, messages, like how they had, attacked all the January 6 people. They were sending encrypted messages and the government had the back door. The next question is, does the government have the back door to Keonne's software? And if they do, then they're more responsible than Keonne is.
Sam, here's the problem. How do you fight a case with a threat of superseding indictments and 25 and 50-year sentences hanging over your head?
Yeah, it's not
Here's
possible.
A guy that's never violated the law. He has no priors. He's never been in trouble previously. Clearly, he didn't think he was violating the law, and it proves that even FinCEN didn't think he was violating the law. His own attorney that advised him he didn't need a license didn't think he was violating the law. So here's all these people that are allegedly experts, excluding Keonne, because we'll say he's a defendant. Here's these experts telling him, well, you don't need a license. Now, here's the Department of Justice saying you do need a license, but they're not the experts. They went to the experts at FinCEN. FinCEN, this guy doesn't need a license. So how do they move forward with the case? How do they justify an indictment? Because here's how. Because they have the ultimate power. They have boasted about the fact that
they can use threats and intimidations. And the question becomes, did they intimidate witnesses similarly?
The point is, follow this. When you get that indictment, they have made it very well known throughout their entire department. They believe they can indict a ham sandwich. That's an actual statement from the Department of Justice prosecutor. We can indict a ham sandwich. And the problem is, it's a good old boy network. The judges should be sitting there in an unbiased position, but they're not. After decades of real defendants, people that committed real crimes, they have become jaded. These lifetime appointments are a problem. And I'm not telling you there aren't good judges. I think there are many amazing judges across this country. But there are many of them that are not amazing. There are many of them that are politicized and weaponized and biased. There are many of them that are having in-chambers communications with prosecutors' offices. And they're saying, we need this case because it's going to set a precedent. The reason they wanted to convict Keonne is they don't want privacy in our financial system, right? The banking system doesn't want it. The Department of Justice system doesn't want it. So they probably told the judge, even in chambers, which should never happen, that they need this case because they need a precedent-setting case. What district were you in, Keonne? What district is that?
Southern District of New York.
Yeah, so the Southern District of New York, notorious for needing to set precedents. They love to sling the hammer of justice in a one-sided fashion. They violate the rules constantly. There are many judges up there that are not good judges. They do it over and over again. I think we've got a major problem that Donald Trump does not fully comprehend. He faced the consequences of a state weaponized system on his 30-plus felonies. We know he faced that. We got a felon in the White House, which I thought was going to be amazing for other people. He doesn't understand that his own federal system is so weaponized that there is no way to fairly get a fair adjudication, because just like Keonne, he had to take the plea because the superseding indictment was already waiting. And if he said, I'm going to trial, they're like, okay, here we come. Let's stick it to Keonne. We're going to hammer him. Enough is enough, Sam. This system
and it's
is
such
not
a
what
criminal
people
enterprise that even the leader of it, President Trump, probably doesn't know the details of what's even going on under his very nose. But I have a question, and I'm not very smart. I'm kind of a redneck. You know, I lack brain cells. So hopefully, Keonne, you can help me kind of get this thing a little bit here. The DOJ alleged that you transmitted over $2 billion in, quote, illicit funds. Okay? Mm-hmm. But then they say that you obscured the origin and destination. So if they can't know the origin and destination, how do they know you even transferred it?
Yeah, correct.
See how stupid I am?
No, that is common sense. That's not stupidity. And the reason they say that $2 billion was illicit is because we didn't collect what's called KYC information, which is shorthand for know your customer, because we don't have any obligation to do that. That's something that a bank has to do. When you take custody of someone's funds, you have an obligation by law to perform certain anti-money laundering checks.
Wait a minute. Banks have done this and not done that and been in serious trouble, and no one's gone to jail like you over that kind of stuff. They just run around free.
Yeah, they normally get a fine. They normally get a fine.
Let's come back and talk about that, because I think this is one of the quintessential realities here. If they say you obscured the destination and the origin and they don't know, I don't even know how they know, one, if it's illicit funds, but number two, how much even got transferred. How do they know that? You know, maybe he didn't hide the destination and the origin well enough. I mean, what are they talking about here? It's very serious. Let's talk about that compared to the banks and what they've done and the fines and the quote justice met out to those people. We'll talk about it all with Keonne Rodriguez and Lance Migliaccio. We'll do it in seconds. You're watching Liberty RoundTable Live. Since Kim Kardashian couldn't pass the bar, I don't think we can hire her. But I'm telling you right now, ladies and gentlemen, what we need is a samurai attorney. to defend the Samurai Wallet case from the out-of-control, belligerent, psychotic, insane, criminalistic Justice Department. Yeah, they're going to probably come after me for saying that, but I'm telling you right now, they're criminals of injustice, cloaked in the dagger of the Justice Department. We thought it was solved under the Trump administration, but no, they're carrying on the Biden budget. They're carrying on the Biden Justice Department. It's a tragedy, to say the least. We're with Lance Migliaccio, thebigmig.com. Check that out. And our guest is Keonne Rodriguez. He's one of the co-founders of this Samurai Wallet. And I was kind of mentioning these banks. You know, I was a mortgage broker for a long time. There's been banks that have been caught in scandal after scandal after scandal. None of those guys get hit as hard as you got, Keonne.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's like Lance said. It's an old boys club. They have connections. They have resources. They have money. I don't have any of those things. I'm a software developer. I created a tool, and the government hated what I created. And in order to tell people this is what you can expect if you create stuff that we don't like, they came down hard. I mean, they raided my house with 50 FBI agents, drones, armored vehicles, laser sights on my and my wife's chest. They went as hard as they possibly could. And like Lane said, I'm a nonviolent guy. I don't have a criminal record. They had no indication that there was anything to be worried about. Had they just contacted me or contacted my lawyer, I would have been happy to speak with them and let them know why I didn't think I was violating the law.
And let's talk about this thing. Right?
Wait, and let me add, Sam, let me just say one thing and then you jump in. Look what they just did with Comey. Comey, an intelligence operative that clearly is a flight risk with all his knowledge.
James goes free.
He could have multiple passports. Comey, forget only what happened with his charges. He gets self-surrender. If anybody's a flight risk, it would be James Comey. He's got the skills, he's got the network, he's got the assets, he's got the international context. No, but instead, Keonne, because they want to make it press worthy, right? They want to splatter him all over. That way he can never get a fair trial if he decides to go to jury trial, because they're going to show all the videos and all the dogs and the flashbangs and the weapons. 50 federal agents for Keonne? Are you kidding me? He's a software programmer.
I could have simply said, come on down to McDonald's, let me buy you a Big
We'd like
Mac
to have
and
a
talk about
discussion
this
with
thing.
you, or
Come
we've
on
got
now.
an indictment and we want you to self-surrender, but that's not good enough, right? They have to make it press worthy. They have to get all the flash. They have to get they're all dressed up in their SWAT gear. They all come in with their guns blazing. Oh, we're going to, and they're hoping that, and by the way, they'll do this also. Here's a warrant, and the search is supposed to be maybe for, computers, hard drives, paperwork. And while they're there, they just happen to find something that falls within another crime. Even though it's not on the warrant list, I guarantee that would have ended up on his indictment, which is not within the scope of the law. They didn't need 50, 60 agents. What's the cost of that to the American taxpayer? Why do we need 50, 60 agents to arrest a software guy? This is what we need. And this is my point. But no, meanwhile, Letitia James, self-surrender. Comey, self-surrender. I'm tired of this. If they're going to use 50 agents on Keonne, then I want 50 agents used on Letitia James, on Brennan, Clapper, Comey, Ray.
If we use 50 agents on Keonne, you got to use 1,000 agents on these other people with multiple passports and all kinds of government ties to evade the law and be above the law. And you got to have thousands of agents on those people if we're going to, scale properly. But Keonne, I want to bring up a broader point to this whole discussion, because the controversy relates to this privacy issue. Privacy advocates and civil liberties experts are all kind of on your side going, hey, whoa, hold on, wait a minute. If you're guilty of obscuring the origin and destination of something, I'm afraid to create any software, sir.
Yeah, you should.
I might obscure the origin of this or that, or what if I create any software? At some point I could be held accountable for things that I didn't even realize were issues, right?
Correct. Yeah. Under the government's new theory, again, this case is the first time this theory has been expounded by the DOJ, that software developers are responsible for the actions of their end users. It's unbelievable, right? It has massive implications for all types of software, including VPNs, including search engines, including in the crypto space, miners and node operators. It's an incredibly expansive theory, and they unfortunately got away with it in this case.
And Sam, let's talk about that. Somebody goes onto YouTube and they research how to convert a weapon to full automatic, or they go onto YouTube and they look at some hand-to-hand combat videos, and now they go out and commit a crime, and that person gets injured and or dies, right? Where there's actual an equity claim. Are they going after the YouTube video people when they go through the guy's browser and see that he was browsing? How about the cartels when they use a non-commercial drone in a cartel operation, which they're doing regularly?
Yeah,
now?
got to get the drone operator.
Yeah.
Throw that
What
guy
about
in
the drone
clink,
manufacturer? What about the guy that made the batteries that went in the drone? Is he going to get convicted? I mean, this is the extension, and that's the problem, right? When we allowed them, and a lot of people don't understand this, the subject matters of these cases, Admiralty Maritime Law. Everybody goes, what do you mean Admiralty Maritime? The truth is, it's an extensionary way that the courts have allowed themselves to become unconstitutional and non-constitutional.
Yeah, let me give you the quick transactional change that articulated that so people understand, because what you're talking about, Lance, is great stuff, but a lot of times it's too complicated for folks. But think about it this way. It used to be the judge had to obey the law. Now the judge just smirks at you and goes, I am the law.
Yeah.
Isn't that the change?
The truth of the matter is, taking that extensionary subject matter and just allowing it to invade everything as a land-breathing predator. That's what they talk about when it comes to Admiralty Maritime. That's the truth of it. What's happened here is you take the precedence of Keonne's case, and now they could apply that probably fundamentally to almost anything. So if I sell this skull to somebody, this is a bronze skull, it's very heavy, and now they kill Sam Bushman with it, am I now responsible because the guy used the skull in a manner that was criminal? Am I supposed to be charged
as part
of
the creators responsible, and the people that funded the skull creators responsible? I mean, what I mean is this never ends if you're not careful, right?
And that is the issue. When the law goes beyond the scope of what its limits are supposed to be, because our founders were very specific, 17 subject matters specific in the Constitution for subject matter of these cases: forts, docks, arsenals, crimes against the post office, crimes against the currency, not fiat currency, but actual coin, right? Crimes against ambassadors, 200-mile district of the water, yada, yada. My point is, when you have allowed the court, and they've been doing this for decades, they just keep expanding and expanding. All these other crimes are supposed to be left to the state. Now, if Keonne's case had been a state case, they're probably using the fact that it was global, international, blah, blah, blah. But had it been a state case, he would have gotten probation. So when you look at the application,
even the bankers who deal worldwide, though, they get fines. They don't.
They get this
prison for this kind of stuff.
They get a slap on the wrist, and then they get fines. He would have been fined for running.
And then usually they get a TV show, or they somehow appear in government somewhere and get some protected job, they get special privileges up the wazoo. I want to change the subject slightly, Keonne, to your wife, and I don't mean to make this personal, but I do think this is relevant. How is she feeling right now? And have they talked to her about this kind of stuff? Because I think your heart and mind matter in this thing, and nobody knows you better than she.
Yeah, absolutely. She's doing well. She's incredibly resilient and strong. It takes something like this event to really show you what a person's made of. And she has stood by me every step of the way and has showed me what she's made of. And I think, our relationship is even stronger because of it. So she's hanging in there. She's very tough. And obviously she doesn't want to lose me to the Bureau of Prisons for 5 years. But we're going to make it work.
All right. Do you know former Congressman Steve Stockman?
No.
All right. He is... We're trying to get him to run for the third time, by the way. StockmanNow.com. If anybody will donate, every penny will be used to help get signatures to put him on the ballot. He's a two-time congressman. He served once, then he went home to take care of his parents, and then he basically re-ran and won again. He basically was the man that was trying to get, what's-her-face over at the IRS. What's that lady's name? Oh, shoot. I can't remember her name right now. Anyway, at the IRS, he was trying to get her prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law for her crimes, etc. Anyway, great guy, but he's a digital expert. He's a cryptocurrency expert. He was on crypto before other people even knew the term crypto. The reason I bring it up is I wonder if he could connect you with some people that might help with this. This idea that you can never appeal. What if you agree to a plea and then you find out after some facts that you didn't know? Are you just bound to it forever, even though the game has changed? Keonne?
Yeah, it's a great question. And, I would accept help from anyone. I'm trying to get out there and trying to get the case
cop a
out
plea
there.
and I say, okay, yes, I did this because I'm afraid, and then I find out the facts weren't as I was led to believe, and so now I'm going, wait, well, hold a minute. It's almost like a double contract in real estate. You can't have 3 parties involved in a contract and one of the other 2 parties not know about the third person or the third side, quote, agreement. It's called a double contract. Go ahead and skip the break. But the reason that I bring this up is because if there's facts about your case that you were not aware of or you were not privy to in your discovery stage, and you agree to a plea, and then you go, wait, whoa, hold on. I didn't realize that so-and-so was this, or so-and-so lied and did or said that, or they submitted, or it seems like any attorney worth their salt would have a way for you to, it's like the Hotel of California. You can always check in anytime you like, but you can never leave there, Mr. Rodriguez. Is that what they're talking about? See, to me, that alone is criminal.
Yeah, absolutely. Unless you've dealt with the U.S. justice system at the federal level, U.S. Attorney's Office, you have no idea how unfair the system is and how rigged the system is against defendants. Lance obviously knows, but if you've never had any actual personal interaction with the system, it's unbelievable how rigged the game is.
Yeah, it's not the Department of Justice, it's the Department of Injustice.
Yeah.
And again, I can only emphasize this is not the only government department that gets it right. Stop believing that the Department of Justice is this higher standard, higher entity. They are unethical. They violate the law constantly. And here's a clear-cut case. And the truth of the matter is, I think these plea waivers in themselves are criminal. And I'm going to tell you why. Here's a defendant.
They're based on intimidation first.
Thank you. Exactly. It's coercion, bribery, and intimidation. They're basically saying, here's your plea agreement. You've got to waive your right to an appeal. How is that justice? How is that not obstruction of justice?
And if
How
you
is
don't
it
kiss
possible
your
that they're
life
allowed to
and
do that?
everything goodbye? By the way, how's your wife going to do if and when you go to prison financially and everything else? Do we need to shout out and try to create a GoFundMe or something to help with some of that stuff, sir?
Yeah, so we've created a Give Send Go that is going to help the families of myself and Bill, his wife Sabrina, my wife Lauren, and you can find the link on our website, billandkeonne.org, KEONNE.org. There's a link to a petition that I would ask everyone to sign and share, and a link to the fundraising. Every little bit helps. It's going to be tough. I have an enormous legal debt that needs to be paid, and I have a unexpected fine additionally to the government of $250,000 that will need to be paid, in addition to the $6.3 million that they took as forfeiture, which represented the 10-year earnings of Samurai Wallet, the company.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, on the website, billandkeonne.org, and behind every line of code, there's a family. Okay, the Samurai Wallet developers and their loved ones. I bring this up because this is important. You can sign a petition, which I'm about to sign right now, to go ahead and help. There's a lot of things that you can do, and we, the people, need to, in my opinion, take over here. We need to put absolute pressure on the Justice Department to say, you clowns have got to stop. And then we also need to help out the families on a personal level to deal with this kind of thing. You know, they're not going to give Keonne and Bill and these guys, they're not going to give them kind of a Ghislaine Maxwell hang out, play with your puppy kind of prison thing. They're not doing that. They're going to make life hell for these poor people. I pray I'm wrong, but I predict I'm right. Keonne, this is kind of a real issue too. They're not going to let you have a good time in jail. They're going to, they're not going to give you the Ghislaine Maxwell treatment, are they?
No, I don't think so. One of the things the judge did at sentencing was put a hard date on when I need to surrender if I don't hear back from the Bureau of Prisons, of December 19th. I think she knew pretty reliably that the Bureau of Prisons wouldn't be getting back to me by December 19th with the holiday and with the government shutdown that was going on when she made that ruling. And she says, if I don't have a designation of which prison to go to, that I will need to surrender to her on December 19th, and I'll be held at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, which is one of the worst jails in the country. That's where Epstein died. And many judges in the Southern District won't even send defendants to that jail because it is so bad. So I'll be waiting there until a designation is made for me by the Bureau of Prisons.
And Sam, think about the retaliatory nature of what that judge just did. Knowing what was going on, they shouldn't have been concerned because the sentencing's already done. It's up to the Bureau of Prisons, another bureau of our federal government that's supposed to be amazing, that's supposed to contact him. But here she is trying to expedite. He could have spent one more Christmas with his family. What was 5, 6, 7 more days? It was nothing. But this is the problem with judges like this particular judge. They've never faced the consequences of their own actions. They do things like denying people the right to present Brady material and exculpatory material, which should, in my opinion, cause their immediate termination. But with a lifetime appointment, how do you fix this? Why couldn't that judge allow him to spend one more Christmas with his family prior to being incarcerated for 60 months? Explain that to me, and why it was so necessary for her to put that ruling on the record.
I would say,
yeah, it was pure
allow freedom.
vindictiveness.
You've got to intimidate at every turn. Keonne?
Correct.
Yeah.
It was vindictive. Yeah. And that's because these judges hand out these sentences like they're potato chips without ever really thinking 5 years out of a man's life, when the average lifespan is what, 72, 75, is a tremendous sentence. This is a first-time offender, a guy that committed a financial crime, allegedly, which I don't believe he did. And here's how they're going to behave. Instead of saying, Keonne, why don't you just go ahead and take this last Christmas, but do me a favor, make sure you've self-surrendered by December 28th at the Department of Justice, or by January 1st if the Department of Justice hasn't contacted you. The guy has complied. He's been out on bond this whole time. He didn't violate the terms of his bonding. He wasn't doing drugs or alcohol or getting caught with a weapon. Here's a guy that's complying, but it's the retaliatory nature. And remember, the sentence is supposed to be what your settlement is for your crime. Being away from your family, you're not supposed to be additionally penalized. But here's this judge acting in a manner that exceeds what the sentence was supposed to be, won't allow him to defend himself accurately by presenting Brady material, because, of course, that would have tanked the whole case, because they needed him. They wanted a precedent-setting case in this vertical. I guarantee if you heard the internal conversations of the Department of Justice, they were talking about his case and how important it was for the future of the Department of Justice, so they could bring more cases and say, in Keonne versus, or in Samurai Wallet versus United States, this is with the outcome. Never paying attention to the Brady material and never talking about how the system was weaponized against him.
Well, that's the big problem. And the issue is they've got to do intimidation the whole way through. And that's kind of why I'm worried about how prison's going to look like for some of these guys, because, if you're Ghislaine Maxwell, you get to play with your puppy and kind of hang out, and you get special privileged time and special food. And if you're Jeffrey Epstein, you get to literally walk around and abuse women while you're in prison. I mean, this kind of stuff. But yet, when it came to my dear friend Ammon Bundy or Steve Stockman or some of these people that have gone to jail, they tell me, hey, man, one bad word, one look at somebody funny, and boom, you're in the hole kind of stuff, right?
Oh, yeah, they're retaliatory, 100%. The Bureau of Prisons is notorious for being retaliatory. For example, if they violate your rights and you start going through administrative remedies, which is a 4-step process, the minute you file a first administrative remedy, it is likely that they will trump up actions against you and send you to the hole, because they know that even filing administrative remedies in the hole is much more difficult. The law libraries are a joke. The access to the legal system is a joke. There isn't any way to really defend yourself. At every turn, they do everything they can to stop you from filing on your case, whether it's a Rule 60B or a writ of habeas corpus. Because at the end of the day, the majority of the defendants have no money, and the public pretenders, they're not going to help you. The DOJ is extremely good at taking away all your tools to defend or fight your case. It's part of their claim that, oh, no, this is all the fruits of the crime. We have to seize everything. They want to make sure that your family.
Yeah, and by the way, that alone is illegal, though. Basically, this asset forfeiture thing is a scam too, and needs to be shut down. It's criminal all the way till the cows come home. This idea that they can predict in advance that it was used in the crime and this and that and the other and everything else. That alone is problematic by nature. And you got cops that all over the country do it. You've got so-called attorney generals doing it. You've got, Justice Department doing it. You've got, the Treasury Department doing it. You've got just criminal activity all over the government is the bottom line.
They make every
It's
attempt
disaster.
to destroy your family, to destroy your personal connections. You're limited on phone calls. They're supposed to follow a diet and a menu in the Bureau of Prisons. They do not follow the diet and menu. The commissary is restricted it for all sorts of claims. You can see it. You'll see people that have served 10, 20 years, and you can see their mind is gone simply because the nutrition was so bad. They claim all these things. None of it's true. And at the end of the day, your rights have been violated. In Keonne's case, you already heard about his rights being violated, and they've taken away his ability to do anything. Sign this plea waiver. You're not allowed to appeal. We're going to take all your money. We're going to leave your family destitute. We want to make sure we ruin your relationships. And now we're going to give you a fine. It wasn't enough to get $6.4 million. They want to fine him an additional $250,000. Why? So when he comes out, he's going to struggle. It's going to be tough enough to get past the fact that he's got the big fat F, right? Because you can't seal those records. The federal government has no manner for sealing, even when people haven't been in trouble for decades after their charges. And they do that intentionally because they want to make sure that he's going to struggle when he comes out. He's going to struggle to pay off his legal bills. He's going to struggle to pay off his fines, hoping that he will recidivate, that he will violate some terms of his probation or something else so they can snatch him back up and stick him back into the system.
Keonne, what do you want to say to the American people about this whole thing? And when are you supposed to report and all that kind of stuff? Hopefully we have time to do something more than's being done now.
Yeah. I need to report by December 19th. So it's coming right
Christmas
up. I'm just,
from your Justice Department.
Yeah. I'm just thankful that I have at least Thanksgiving with family and my wife. And to the American people, I'm very thankful to come on to this program because I just don't think anyone really knows about this case. And I think the American people who listen to this show are likely to even research this, or this conversation was enough. They know it's fundamentally not right. It's fundamentally unfair, and that they should demand better from their Department of Justice because it's in a very sorry state. And unfortunately, President Trump has not yet been successful in cleaning up a rogue agency that appears to be going against his interests and his, what he campaigned on and what he says he wants. So I said it earlier in the program, the whole department needs cleansing. And there's a lot of people in the department, just like every other aspect of government, that are working against the president. And none, I think, as clearly as the Department of Justice. So I hope that he gets this message, and I hope the American people get that message. You cannot trust the Department of Justice. It's a very rogue agency. And I never thought that until I had to deal with them on a personal level, go face to face with them.
BillandKeonne.org, ladies and gentlemen. You can sign the petition. Please do. You can also donate. Please do. Their families will need support while they're gone. And this is one of the things where this takes a toll beyond their families, folks. And this privacy issue is serious. If we let this slippery slope continue, it's going to be disaster. Anybody they want to prosecute for any reason at any time will be up for the beating. Anybody who is above the law, seems like Ghislaine Maxwell, the Clintons, Barack Hussein, Donald, Pam, maybe she's trying to qualify. All these people are above the law, and things don't happen to them like they happen to us. And until we solve that in America, the whole point of America was that we don't have kings. We don't have different classes of people in the, law or legal sense, so to speak. We don't have people above the law. And that's the genius of America. And I'm telling you right now, ladies and gentlemen, if we lose that, I'm telling you right now, it's time to run for the hills, because we've lost something very fundamental in the country. I mean, people think elections matter. This matters 10 times more than elections do, Lance.
Yeah. When you have a weaponized judiciary and a weaponized Justice Department, you have a major problem. You're never going to get away from that.
All right. Keonne Rodriguez, ladies and gentlemen. BillandKeonne.org is the website. Please provide support. For Lance Migliaccio and George Ballantine, Merry Christmas, Thanksgiving to every one of you guys. I'm starting Christmas early, baby. That's what I'm saying. Merry Christmas to their families as well. God save our republic.